Hi, welcome to a brief video covering the show me tell me questions for the practical driving test and the part 2 ADI test. This is for a Suzuki Swift Sport. So starting with the show me questions, first one, can you show me how you would sound the horn? Can you show me how you would wind the side window down and up again? Can you show me how you would clean the front windscreen with the washers? And then the rear windscreen with the washers? Can you show me how you would turn the dipped headlights on and off? Try and get this in focus. So that's twisting the end bit all the way to the end and then back to the auto setting. Show me how you would demist the front window. It's already on at the moment, but you press the top button there. And then show me how you would demist the rear window. That's the bottom one just there. And that's the show me questions. And moving on to the tell me questions, if the examiner was to ask how you would tell them if the headlights and rear lights are working correctly, the simple answer is to just simply turn the dipped headlights on and then check at the front and the rear of the vehicle to make sure all the lights are working correctly. Tell me how you would check if the direction indicators are working correctly. So there's two ways of doing that. You can either move the indicator to the left and then get out and check that the indicator bulbs are working, and then move it to the right and do the same. Or alternatively, you can use the hazard lights, which are located in the centre. Press the button, that will put all of the indicators on at once, and then you can walk around the vehicle and check them. If they were to ask you to tell them how you would check if the brake lights are working correctly, so basically press the foot brake and then ask somebody to stand at the rear of the vehicle to make sure the brake lights are working correctly. Alternatively, you can reverse up against something reflective and then check the brake lights through the rear view mirror. Tell me how you would check if the foot brake's working effectively before starting a journey. So apply pressure to the foot brake. There should be tension in the brake and it shouldn't feel loose and spongy, and when applying the brake the car shouldn't pull to one side. Can you tell me how you would check if the power assisted steering is working correctly? So with the engine switched off, you turn the wheel a little and the steering should be quite heavy to turn, and then starting the engine up, you then turn the wheel again and the wheel should move freely and easily. If it doesn't, then you would know the power steering isn't working correctly. If they were to ask you to tell them how you would position the head restraint correctly. So the head restraint doesn't have adjustable head restraints in this car, but if your car does, you should adjust the head restraint so the rigid part is level with the top of your ears and eyes, and it should sit comfortably at the back of your head. If you were asked to identify a fault with the anti-lock braking system, well, that would simply involve you checking if there's an ABS warning light present on the dashboard. You could be asked to explain how you would switch on the rear fog lights and then tell the examiner when you would use them. So to switch on the rear fog lights, we need to turn the dipped headlights on first, and then you operate the switch in the middle. So the first click will put the front fog light on, and then you twist again to operate the rear fog light, which you can now see the icon displayed on the dashboard, and then just simply put the dipped headlights back onto the auto setting to switch everything off. You would use your fog lights when visibility is less than 100 meters, and then they may ask you to tell them how you would swap the dipped headlights to full beam. So again, we're turning the dipped headlights on first and then simply pushing the indicator arm away from you, and you can see that it's on full beam by the blue lamp that's indicated on the control panel. Okay, onto the tyres. So with the tyres, if the examiner was to ask you to tell them where you would find information on the tyre pressures and how you would check them, the information can usually be found in the car handbook, or alternatively there is sometimes a plate on the inside of the door frame that tells you what the tyre pressure should be, and then it's a case of using a reliable pressure gauge to check that the tyre pressures are correct in the tyres. and then you may be asked to tell them how you would check the overall condition and tread depth on the tyres. So we're going to check the outer wall of the tyre to make sure there are no cuts or bulges in the outer wall. And then you need to check that there is a minimum of 1.6 millimeters across the middle 3/4 of the tyre. So you can usually do this by making use of the tread depth indicators within the tyre. So unfortunately the tyres are a little bit dirty, so this might be quite difficult to see, but I'm just going to zoom right in there. And in the tyre you can see periodically around the tread in the tyre you've got these little rubber rivets on the inside, so those are the tread depth indicators or tread wear indicators. So when the tyre tread is worn all the way down to the top of where that rivet is, that would suggest that your tyres are down to about 2 millimeters of tread at that point, so are well on their way to being ready to be replaced. As you can see on this tyre, there's quite a lot of tread on. So we're then going to go around to the front of the car and find the release catch under the bonnet, which is not the most easy one to find on here. So trying to do it with one hand is even more awkward. So you can see the release mechanism there. So that just flips to the left and that allows you to pull the bonnet up. I've now taken the bonnet prop out from the clip on top of the bonnet, and then that goes into that little slot just there to hold it up. So we've got three things to look at under the bonnet. The first one we're going to go to is the engine coolant, which is the one with the green cap on it. So if you're asked to tell the examiner how you would check if you have enough engine coolant, it's just simply a case of checking the minimum and maximum levels on the side of the container and making sure the fluid level is above minimum. If it's not, then it needs to be topped up to the required level. We're then going to move on to the brake fluid, which is just behind there with the grey cap on. Again, not the easiest to see on this one, but if you're asked to tell them how you would check if you've got enough brake fluid, we're again looking to check the minimum and maximum levels on the side of the container, and if the fluid level is below minimum, you would generally get a mechanic to investigate that for you, as your car shouldn't normally lose brake fluid unless there's some kind of problem. And then finally, we're just moving on to the engine oil. So tell me how you would check if you've got enough engine oil. So you're moving on to the dipstick, which is this thing with a yellow hook on the end of it. So first of all, making sure the car's on a level surface and the engine's had time to cool down. You take the dipstick out, wipe it clean with a cloth, reinsert and then take out again. And then at the bottom of the stick you'll find two lines etched into the stick, and the fluid level needs to be above the bottom line. If it's not, you then top it up to the required level by removing this cap just here, and then topping the oil up bit by bit and keep checking it on the dipstick until it's at the required level. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this useful.